On the Automotive Council, we've got two big objectives. One is to increase employment in the supply chain, and two is to increase the level of sourcing that we have in our supply chain for the UK manufacturers.
So having a strong, competitive domestic supply chain is vital for our OEMs, but it's also a huge opportunity to export from the UK. For every job that's created in an OEM, that creates 4 further jobs down the supply chain.
Jaguar Land Rover, as well as any other auto manufacturer, is only as strong as its supply chain. So we had to find ways of speeding up our suppliers' level of investment. And the LTASC scheme was perfect for this. It's really about the suppliers in the UK being able to compete with suppliers abroad. LTASC made that possible.
Well, LTASC was a very important part of the supply chain work, and it's great to see the success it's had as demonstrated in this video.
What was different about LTASC is that it was a truly flexible scheme. It could incorporate research and development, capital funding, and most essentially skills as well. It was actually endorsed by the vehicle manufacturers.
We identified suppliers that we felt from a Bentley perspective met our brand values and that were good supply partners.
What we wanted to be able to do was to accelerate our capabilities. It's very, very different doing vehicle OEM business and motorsport. There's obviously all the quality management systems and things that you need to have in place, different skills required. Our R&D capability needed to evolve beyond just motorsport. And then of course it's just about being able to scale up.
At Granger & Moore we used the LTASC funding to support one R&D project that focused on making prototypes as close to production as possible. The second R&D project was to improve the prototype levels of cleanliness so they met the production standards. And the third area was to focus on training, skills training for our employees in the factory.
We had the opportunity to take on a number of new projects, predominantly chassis components for OEMs. We recognised that the business would be able to deliver the basic requirements of those programs, yet we also recognised that the standards required by the OEMs were higher than we'd had the experience of.
The LTASC came at a time where we had a huge and great opportunity to do work for JLR, to upgrade our facilities and to jump into the 21st century in terms of manufacturing and methods and automations and automated processes. We were able to do bits of it before, but we needed that extra help.
With Defender going out of production in 2016, back in 2014 Bowler saw an opportunity where it could develop a next generation vehicle that would service its road car and race car applications, but could also expand into other markets such as utilities, emergency services and so forth that traditionally use that type of vehicle.
We'd made the decision to invest in new technology that enabled us to expand our product and product type to Jaguar Land Rover specifically. Historically, there's been no money available for people like us. This was a godsend.
When Liberty first acquired what was the former Covpress business, it was a business that was losing fairly dramatic amounts of money. And what we inherited was a badly broken business. It had no investment in plant equipment and particularly no investment in the training of the people.
Well, in the 2 financial years since we started the programme, we've grown turnover by 26%. We've created 50 new jobs as the programme has proceeded and safeguarded a roughly similar number. The rate we're growing at the moment, then we expect to be double the size we are in 5 years' time. And the sorts of wins we're now seeing is such as 50% reduction in programming time and actual run time. That is just the start.
We now have the capability that when an automotive OEM comes and looks at us, we're no longer this small brakes business who happens to do motorsport and a few other projects. We've got all the tools, we've got all the kit to make their decision a little bit easier.
The net saving to the business in terms of hard savings, in terms of improving productivity, reducing waste and scrap, etc., we estimate in the first 12 months has delivered over £300,000 worth of savings. So we're now in a position to quote for new business, which we couldn't quote for before. Our on-time delivery performance is currently 99.99 something%. We have no quality issues with all of our major customers now. We're on approved supplier status. It has been a dramatic turnaround.
The factory itself, in that period of time, the turnover's increased by 50% and the number of employees is increased by about 30 new employees, so 50% more employees. The lead times for our products, we're from receiving a casting to delivering it to the customer, we're on a lead time of about 5 weeks now, which is probably half what we were 3 years ago. So dramatic improvements in all those areas.
Our turnover has grown by 30%. Our labour content within that has only grown by 12%. That will be a combination of the new projects coming in, which are obviously higher margin than the older components which were in manufacture. We feel much more comfortable now accepting visits from the large OEMs who want to talk to us about far more complex and far more difficult programs that we used to be involved with.
I think it enabled us to do all this in the time that was given to meet the customer deadline. That's what it's enabled us to achieve. The impact, if you like, here or with our supply chain is significant. We've got about, probably I would say about 30 people dedicated to that product line today. We've been able to secure the i6 as part of this LTASC project, and that's going to double up the impact that we've generated on the i4. So it's definitely something that differentiates us for the future in terms of competitiveness in the European market. And it's more what you can do with it in the future, apply to other projects.
So the business as it emerges from the grant is now a multi-million-pound engineering and manufacturing organisation that exports a substantial amount of its product, and that really wouldn't have happened in that time frame without the specialist support we've received.
You wouldn't recognise the company now compared to where it was 2.5 years ago. The funding has freed us up to do things and make developments that we would not have been able to achieve in any other way. We're not just a motorsport company anymore, we can go and challenge for new business in new markets.
We're in our new building, we have new people, we're employing more people, and we are already considering further expansion into another building. We've moved from what was a £6 million turnover company to a £10 million turnover company. On the back of the expansion and new business opportunities, Interflex have employed an extra 14 people, and we're already looking at the further expansion in the technical side of our business.
In total, Jaguar Land Rover endorsed 18 LTASC projects, almost £50 million of incremental investment that wouldn't have happened and could well have gone abroad if the LTASC scheme didn't exist. It's given our supply base in the UK a greater level of resilience, a greater level of confidence, and ultimately the ability to compete with new contracts as they come up.
We're here today at Alcon, and that's demonstrated very positive results in terms of how a level of investment can just kickstart an enormous amount of growth within a good small medium enterprise company, and that's something we need to encourage and develop further.
We've proven that we don't need to throw tens and tens of millions of pounds at this kind of stuff. We can have a big impact with a relatively small amount of money across lots of companies. And I think the vital thing or the clever thing to do is to figure out what is it that makes those companies more competitive, how will they win more orders from both current customers and new customers, and how do we focus on building their capabilities to directly improve that competitive performance.
Well, LTASC was a very important part of the supply chain work, and it's great to see the success it's had. When you look over the last years, one of the things the Automotive Council is proud of is the content of UK-built vehicles has increased from 36% UK content to now 44% UK content. So a measurable and demonstrable success.
I think speaking to these companies, going out on the shop floor, getting to know the leadership teams, getting to understand their challenges, and getting to know the people, the guys and girls out on the shop floor making a difference. For me, the most heartening moment is when they truly discover what's possible And having that investment and having that faith and that vision to see them actually take ownership of this stuff, drive their own improvements, and feel a real sense of reward and achievement from a personal point of view. And I think putting this program in place has enabled all of that to happen in so many companies.